Hello, I hope I'm audible. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. I think I'm audible clearly, right? Okay, so we'll start in a second. Hope the screen is visible to you all, right? Okay, so cool. Okay, so hello everyone, good evening. Good evening all. So we're going to start this session with the MongoDB because we have in the last 3 days we have seen Node.js, React, and the basics of HTML. Now, today we are going to integrate like connect the MongoDB database with our uh, Node.js server, and we will create some of the APIs to just to remove, update, and delete the data from the database. So I want to see your reaction into the chat box directly. So good evening everyone, right? So show your excitement with the uh, typing the node into the chat box, right? Okay, so I'm going to start the session right now. So yesterday we have seen few of the things, so we'll have a little bit of recap. So this was our project, and today we are going to like build some of the APIs with more MongoDB in Express, and also we are going to deploy a React app on a server. So I hope you are excited, right? Hey, good evening, everyone. Good evening, right? So today's session will be an amazing experience for you, I hope. Okay, so yeah, I'll take a recap. For creating Node.js server, we used a command npm init. It's just to create a Node.js project, right? So for installing the Express, we used npm I, which is for install Express. So this command installed the Express dependency or library into the or the framework into the project which we have right now. So with the help of Express, we created different APIs. So I'm going to start the server npm start. So this is the command. So we started the server and we're going to have a look onto this, right? This was our like the server URL which we used yesterday, and we created some of the APIs like uh, a random joke API which was returning a joke Then we created convert time or country data API, which was returning country data directly into the JSON format. This is something which we did yesterday, and now we are going to learn about MongoDB. So what is MongoDB? So it's a database. There are two types of database are there, which is first one is SQL and NoSQL. Okay. So if I want to show you SQL and NoSQL, so there's a little bit of difference between both of these, right? In different aspects. So this is the like SQL database and NoSQL database. So both have a little bit of difference. The SQL is the relational database which has a structure into the database. We clear the schema statically, and it's scalable vertically. We'll need to think about the tables, everything which we are going to like scale around with the software. So SQL means for the like structured query language. So it requires a query to create, delete, update, or insert any database or the data into the database, right? There are some examples of the SQL database: MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, SQLite. So these are the examples, right? And for non-relational, there are many examples are there: MongoDB, Cassandra, Redis, Elasticsearch, Firebase, and many more. So NoSQL is a non-relational which has semi-structured or unstructured type of data, which usually stored in a schema type of JSON, JavaScript object notation, right? There are key value pairs. In the key value pairs, the data is stored in that. So it's a dynamic one. Then there are many differences are there both in in the both databases. So the MongoDB we are going to learn is NoSQL database, which is non-relational database. Okay, so that is scalable and a lot of things are there, right? So for creating MongoDB, like for connecting or creating MongoDB database and all, you need to download the MongoDB into your systems. For downloading MongoDB, you need to search MongoDB download. So once you are clicking on this, so there are two or three things that you will need to download. You can download the community server for Windows, right? And any other thing, right? Then there is MongoDB Compass. Even if you are using like downloading the Compass, so you'll be able to do a lot of things with that as well. So for that, MongoDB Compass, search MongoDB Compass and click onto this and download the MongoDB Compass from here directly. So it will ask you for the operating system, whether you are using Mac, Windows, or anything. So this is the GUI based application, and this is the terminal based one, right? So I will recommend you to download the MongoDB Compass. Once you are downloaded this will be gonna get installed into your systems, and this is MongoDB Compass. I'm opening it right now. Yeah. So right now we are into the MongoDB Compass, and in this we can see there are some of the connections are there. Even there is one local network connection, local database connection is there. So we are going to connect with this. So now in this local uh, database server, we have multiple the databases, right? Which has different collections and the documents of it, right? So now we'll need to copy the connection string. This is the compass, right, which has a lot of data, right? You can see in the local, this is how the data gets stored. You can see, okay, and this is into the JSON one. So if I'm copying this database, and if I want to paste the database somewhere, let's say over here. So it will be into the JSON format. You can see it's in JSON, right? Okay. So this is how it works. But now we'll create a database, we'll connect a database and we'll do some things with our database, right? Okay. So for creating the database, you don't need to do anything, but you need to install some of the dependencies into your uh, Node.js project. Okay. So for that, we'll go to npm.js, and on npm.js, we'll search Mongoose. This is the Mongoose library. With this Mongoose, we'll connect our database with the local and MongoDB cloud database server. So for installing this, we'll copy this command and go to our terminal. Right now, I'm like terminating our server. I'm pasting the command over there. So you can see it's getting installed. Okay. So once it is installed, we'll be able to like okay, so it's installed, and now we'll be able to access the functions of Mongoose, right? So for this, we'll create a file like for a folder now, which is config. Now in this folder, we'll create a file mongodb.js, mongodb.js. Okay. So you can see once we are done with this, uh, for connecting our server with uh, any application, there are some instructions they have given, right? So we'll follow the instructions respectively. Okay. Now you can see we have done with our installation of Mongoose. Now we'll use it. Okay. So you can see there are some things are there. It's about importing it, then about connection. Okay. And many more things, right? So we'll need to learn about this a little bit. Yeah. But we'll have a look on to this later, right? So now we have created a file MongoDB. Now in this we'll do our further things of connection, right? So now we'll create a variable const URL, db URL or something, db URI or something. Now in this we had copied that URL. So this is our URI, right? So this will be into the strings. Okay. So this is our connection URI. And now we are gonna do one thing. We are gonna import the Mongoose. Okay. Import Mongoose from Mongoose. Now we want to connect this Mongoose and we want to make a server uh, connection with the application, with our Node.js applications. For that, there is a connect function is there. Now in this, we'll need to pass our DB URI, and after this, there are some options we are going to pass. This is that we are going to pass this URL. This URL will be used to create the index and all. And once the connection is successful, it gonna console that MongoDB is connected. And if there is any error, so it will return that error into the console directly. Okay. So this is how it works. Okay. Cool. Once we are done with this, we'll do one thing. We'll come over to this documentation of, okay, so you can see, you can even directly do and console that, but in detail, can directly connect with that passing the options. So the options has different meanings, right? Okay, so we have passed this, and we we are fetching the error as well. Let's remove this directly. That's right. Why it should be. Let's come on to that MongoDB compare. And now you can see there is compass integrations here. Okay. Now we'll have a look onto the Node.js integration. Uh, Documentation or something. Plus, it's gonna ask for the registration. Okay. Here is the docs. It's okay. Okay. So what we do, we'll create a function. Now we'll create a function, or we can even do one thing. We can create a direct variable const db con equal to this. Now this db con is gonna return me something, right? Or we can even just use this and export this over here. Export dbcon, and we'll import this dbcon over here. We are going to like import the dbcon and MongoDB connected. So if the MongoDB is connected, so it's gonna tell us that MongoDB is connected. We are going to start the server. npm start. So this create index is not supported, so we'll need to remove some of the options. We are going to remove the options, right? And we just want to connect this. So you can see now it's printing that MongoDB is connected. Okay. So now our database is connected, right? So here we'll write our database name. Okay. So it is Node.js underscore workshop. So in this Node.js, there will be a collection gonna create a collection which is Node.js workshop, and in that only our database is going to get stored. Okay. So this is how it's gonna happen, right? Good evening, right? My screen is visible clearly to everyone. I think it should have to. Okay, cool. So now we have connected our database and it's connected, right? Now what we'll do, we are done with our configuration of database and it's done. So let's do one thing. We are going to create a controller, MongoDB controller.js. Now in this controller, we'll create all the functions of today, which we are going to use with the database storing and all. Okay. Now we'll create one more folder called model. What model? So you can see there there is an example over there for defining a model. So simply we'll be going to create a model. So first our model name will be, because whatever the collections we like the database collections we want in our database. So for that we'll be just going to use different models. Okay. So first we'll save users. So we'll create a user model .js. So it's creating the directory, right? I'll create a directory called model. Now in this we'll create a JavaScript file which will be user model.js. Now this will be our model, right? The database model. Why we need a model? Because we define the type of data in a schema, means in a set of rule. We define the data types of our uh, like database. Okay, so this is something which we use right now for creating a schema. We'll import const schema, right? On schema from Mongoose schema. So you can use that only, and you need to use Mongoose directly by importing that one. We can even use import something like this, Mongoose and directly the schema. Then we'll copy this object ID as well. Okay. Now there is a syntax to create the schema. For that we'll create a variable and the user schema. Schema means a set of rule for our database which we are going to use, right? So for that we'll store the name of user, email, password. Okay, not email, password. We'll just take age age will be the number, right? So you can see what we are doing. We are defining name is the string, email is a string, age is number, right? So this is we define in the schema. And also what other things we can define? See, it is required or not. If it is required, then if it is not present, the database will be not going to accept any value, any other value, right? So for now, we'll also add for this as well. The type is string and it's required, and we can even set default, right? So if it is default, if it is if there's not none of a value, so it will gonna create a value in the database as anonymous, right? So it is that only, right? Okay. So we have created a schema called name, age, and number, email. And now we are going to use this schema. So for that, we need to export this as user schema. Now we'll use this model while creating a data into the database, right? So for that, we'll create a new controller called user controller, user controller.js. Now in this, we'll import few of the things, right? First, there's the user schema. So we have imported the user schema and we'll create the functions for creating user. Okay. So first we'll create a function, uh, create user, sorry, not student. So we'll take request parameter, response parameter. And now in this only, we are going to do the operations, right? And yeah, as will need to export this function to perform everything over there, right? So we'll do one thing. We'll take the user data from body. We need to understand, right? Because the body is not working in my personal machine, the PC. But let's say, okay, we'll do one thing, right? Once we have the user, I'll write a if condition. If we If the user is not there, it's gonna return a response that user not found, or there will be a message, please provide a user or something, right? And in the else condition, we are gonna store the user. So for that we use user schema and will create user schema. Then we are gonna save the data, right? So now in this we'll need to pass the data right into the JSON, right? So there is a proper, let me show you. There is a proper structure is available for that, to just to use that model to save anything with that, right? So we'll follow that. See, now we'll create something like this, that const user data equal to new user schema, and in this we'll pass the user value, right? User data, which will be the name user username, email will be user email, and the age will be the age, right? Now in this we'll use the command user data save, and if it is saved, then it is gonna return the response that the data is saved, right? And if it is not created, user is not created, it will return an error with user is not created thing, right? So we have written the function over there right now. Okay, something like this. I'll reformat this code so you can understand a little bit clearly. Okay, now we'll create an API in the server.js. I'll also start my postman. In the server.js, we'll create an API. So I'll commit all of this API, and now we'll create a router as well. Okay, in this we'll create a router. Okay, so for that we'll come on to this uh, project and we'll create a folder as routes. Now in this routes folder, as we are like creating the user routes, because we want this to create the user routes only, because in this file we'll create all the user routes only. Okay, so user route .js. Okay, so in this file all our user routes will gonna use, right? So for that, in the server.js we'll type app.use, right? Users, right? And it's gonna require the user route only, right? So for this we'll be needing the routes, right? Which we are going to write over there into this only. So let's come over here, we'll create a route app dot get post route, because first we are going to create the user, right? And our route will be new, and we'll use the function of create user. Create user index in the server.js. Here we'll need to require the user routes. This is how we can require this, right? But as it is into the modular like JS, so we need to use something like this, user router, and we'll use directly the user router over here. And now in the user router we are going to create a a route. First, we'll create a get route first to just to test, right? Express router, export. Now we'll export this first user router, and in this, right, we'll create the route app dot get, or we can even do something like this user route because we are in the router, right? So in this only we'll need to do dot post or dot get. Okay, so first we'll create a get. Now in this get we'll return a hello, right? Hello, right? So if someone is coming onto the students direct, sorry, the users directly, so it's gonna return hello world into the router, right? So as we are into the server.js, you can see we just use this router over here, and we have created an API with the endpoint of like users. So now let's come over here, localhost 3000 slash users. So it's returning us the hello world, means our router is working, right? Means our router is working. So allow me some time. I'll set up my screen. Okay. So now you can see hello world is working, right? So as we want to create a database over here, right? We'll connect our database with the MongoDB directly. And now here we want our Node.js workshop into this, right? So you can see there's nothing over here right now, but it is gonna create automatically once we are pushing or saving the database into the uh, like okay. So we just have created the user router, and now in this user router, as we created a normal API, so same like that, we'll create a API for user, create user. Okay. So in this create user, it's gonna call the function create user, and in the body, we are going to pass the data of the user, something like this, and then only it's going to create a user into the systems, right? So you can see now the database is connected. We are going to open our Postman, and our API is users slash what is that endpoint? We created the endpoint, so that is create, right? Users slash create. So in this, we need to pass the JSON body, right? So for that, we'll just paste our JSON data. No, this will be all of these are in JSON. So here will be the username. Username will type test. User email will be test@gmail.com, and the age of the user will be 20. So this is our like data we are going to use, right? Or just pass. Let's beautify this and let's send request. Now it's sending cannot get users create, right? Because it's not get request, it's a post request. So you can see user not found. Please provide a user. Okay, so it's returning an error because, as I told you, in my system, it won't work that much good, right? So where is the controller, the user controller? Okay, in this user controller, we'll log the body. I'm sure the body will be not there, right? Console, and we'll go to our routes, user routes. We are going to pass the request and response from here as well, because I think, but it do take automatically, but still. Okay, so we are done with that. Now we'll go to this, as we have this name, email, and everything, but still it's not consoling or showing that the data is there. See, I consoled and I'm sending a post request onto this, so it's still returning undefined. even if it's even the data is there, right? I don't know what is the problem with the client, but yeah, still it's throwing an error. Let's check whether the there is the one. Okay, we'll do one thing. We'll create a user and we'll pass the data into this query parameter directly because I know there are some issues with this postman in my system I have, so I can't send proper data with the postman. So we'll do one thing. We'll take the body. We'll take the user data from query directly. Okay, query, query name, email, and ish will pass from here from the query. Name equal to test ampersand for email equal to test @gmail.com and age equal to 29. So I sent the request. Now it's saying user schema is not constructor. So it's thrown an error. So what is that error? Will resolve this error because see now it's consoling the data and it's telling the schema is not constructor. Fix with the schema first, right? Name, email, and what we needed is age. We'll need it with the age only first, and it is required true. Okay, we are again going to send the request. And now we'll go to our user schema where we have the controller. In this controller, it's coming out to the 19 line. It's already done with the schema. We are just using it. So we'll go to the documentation first. You can see the model is there. It's to retrieve the model. We are retrieving the model. We are saving somewhere, right? And there is a new blog post. Okay. Then in the post comments, we're just pushing the data in this way, right? Then there is one more way that model name is there and the schema is there, right? Okay. And directly to save the data. And this is one more way is there, the model name and the schema. We'll use this like user, then the user because this is a model name. We declared the model name or something. We have not declared any model name. We have the user schema as model name directly. Now allow me a minute. Okay, so we'll try to fix it. first we have created this schema. Okay, then we have I added ID, name, email, age. Okay, then this ID is coming from the object ID, which will generate a normal object ID. You can even console this object ID. It will return. Then the user schema is there, right? Okay, so for this, you can even come over here and check out the documentation, right? The schema.js. Open the schema.js. See, so there's Mongo schema. Now in this, it is the schema they are using, and they're using the method to add directly. This is one of the method, and then this is the second method for creating the schema. So they have different schemas, and they're using the command directly to save the data into the database, right? So yeah, we can even store the schema as JSON. So in this is something which we were trying to do, right? Okay, we were directly creating the schema with the data, and we were saving this, right? Okay, so let's try that one as well, right? So save users to the database. Now we have the schema. Get the user. Let's. It's not a function, right? Oh, sometime, okay. And there's one more thing which we use to access the model, right? Because right now what we did, we just imported the model right now over here, right? So we can even do that, and we can even pass the schema directly into the model name, right? And with this model name, we can save, find, and do many things into the uh, database directly. Okay, so there are some queries are there. You can see to just to find the database, to delete many one and all. But to add a database, there is also many things are there, right? So we'll go to the models. And now it's update using save. So you can see what we have is right now to create a model. This is the type, okay, which we use, and here how we define the model, right? So as we have the schema, right? As we have the schema, we'll to take the schema directly into the model, and with that only you do the operation. Now this is the schema. Now it needs to be uh, used by the model, right? Now this is users, right? And now here will be user schema. This will be users, and this will gonna get export, right? Now we are going to import this only users, and this is gonna make things user the push, or we can even use this kind of things, right? Okay, so users dot save, where we are even adding the data or even creating the data and inserting many of the data, right? So first, we'll do one thing, that users dot, or we can even update the data directly by just passing the users and it's saving them directly, something like this. So I'm sending a request. Now you can see your document must have a valid ID before saving, because we don't have ID into this. So we can even remove this ID from this. So it's not gonna ask. Now you can see it created the data of name, test, email, and age, and this is the ID which in the database got created. Now we'll refresh the database, and there is Node.js workshop database got created, and in this there is a user table is there, and in this you can see name is saved, email is saved, and age is saved, right? Is that visible? One minute, I'll be sharing the screen again. Is my screen is visible again? Allow me some time. Take a minute. I'm resolving this issue. Just reshare the screen, right? I think it's visible right now. Is that visible? The screen is visible? Is the screen is visible to you all? Okay, if it is visible, just show into the reactions and chat box directly. I'll also have a look directly, right? Okay, okay, cool. Okay, uh, we'll again focus on to the topic directly. So what we did right now is like we just created a function and we just created a model to save our database, right? So this is our schema, and in this schema we created a model called users, and with this model, we are just exporting the model over here, and we imported the model into this, and we created a function that to create a user, and if it is the user data is there, so it's gonna create a user directly and save into the database. So let me show you an example. In this, now you can see I'm zooming away, right? I passed the name, email, and age. So I'll pass a name of Ayush right now. You can see. Just increase your video quality, right? So I think you'll be able to watch it clearly, right? Now you can see I'm going to change the name of the student user as Ayush. Okay, and the Gmail will be ayush@gmail.com, and the age will be, I think, 20. And I'm again going to create a new user. So you can see in our MongoDB Compass, we can check, we can refresh and check. You can see the ayush@gmail.com, and the Ayush data is got stored into the database, right? So this is how you can use MongoDB database to store the data. Now let's learn about retrieving the data. Now it was about saving the data. Now we'll retrieve the data from the database. So for that we'll create a function called get users, right? So in this with this function we are gonna retrieve all the users present in our database. So for that we'll use our model users.find. So users dot find, this is the method where we can find all the database. So it's gonna return us the uh, all the students available into the database. So it's directly gonna return that into a JSON, right? So you can see now the function is there. Now we'll create a route into our user routes, and the route will be users yeah, this route will use, which is normally a user's route. So in this route, we are just going to use the function, which is a get user function, and this function will import, export, and import. So in the user controller, we'll export this function from here, and we'll use this function directly over here, and we are importing this, and it's imported right now. And let's say, as we have in our database, there are two students are there. Okay, so first is taste@gmail.com, and second is the IUs. So we'll go to our API and let's refresh this. Uh, Restart and refresh this. So I think the app has got crashed. Res.send. So we can even do something like this, res.json, and this will be data directly. Res.json, and in this there will be SS error message, right? So yeah, there are two users, and we'll refresh the server API. Users slash, there is response and users in a request and response, right? We want both of these things, right? We're refreshing and we're reloading the servers, and now we can see it's returning the database, right? The test@gmail.com, the username, and the age of the user. Okay, so now there are two nodes are there, and if I'm changing the name of the user in database, now you can see I'm going into MongoDB Compass. I'm changing the name as okay, Mano. Okay, so I'm going to change this name as Mano, and I'm going to update this. So now the name is updated, and we'll refresh this. So you can see the name is there, Mano is there, right? Because we updated the database from MongoDB Compass, in which is our like database console. Is that interesting? Just show your reactions right now into the chat box, right? Okay, cool. So now we are done with this. Okay, we just retrieved the users. Now, if I want only single user to retrieve in my like in my API, so we'll create a function get one user or something. Function get one user, and in this function request will pass response parameters, and in this function we'll write the we'll use the function of find one. Okay, so we'll take the ID from parameters, and we'll find we'll use the query. This is the query ID equals to ID, so it will check ID and then it will return the. So what we'll do, instead of yeah, we'll use ID only first. I'll copy this, we'll export this function, and we'll just go to the routes, and we'll create one route, user router dot get. So this will be a get request, and in this we'll get one user and we'll pass the user ID. And yeah, we are going to import this. And now for now we'll copy a user ID. So this is our user ID. I'm copying this, and now we need to use the get one user. So what's our route? Get one user and the ID. So we'll pass the ID. So this is ID. Okay, users slash get one user, users slash get one user. So now as it's taking the ID, right? We'll refresh this again. Now there is route. in our user routes. What is that route is? That is get one user and the ID. So now whatever the next thing we are passing towards that only, so that is the ID is gonna get considered as the ID, and this will be the ID, right? If I'm going to this URL, it's not gonna return anything. Going to this URL, it's even not gonna return anything, right? So this is our object ID. So we'll need to uh, mention this in our function as well. So it should search the object ID, right? And now we'll go to this. So you can see it's returning one user which has the same ID, Manav. Okay, this is how we can retrieve a single user from database in the MongoDB and Node.js APIs. Like this is the Express API. This is about fetching the single user. Now we'll do one thing. We'll uh, like we'll delete a user, right? Right from the database. Okay, so I'm going to create a function, and in this function, I'm going to create a delete function, delete user, and now in this delete user function, I'm going to write the delete logic, right? So for that, we need the ID, right? The user ID which user I'm going to delete. So request, comma response, and now in this const, we are going to take the ID from parameters, and the request will be delete request. So we'll send this request from Postman, and now we'll use the users dot find one and delete. So this find by ID or find one and delete. So we can even do take any one of this. So we are right now we have the ID, so we'll use this. And once the data got deleted, so it's gonna return that the data has been got deleted. And if there is any error, so it's written that error right here, right? So we'll export this function as well. So because see, we did the CRUD operation with this. Now we'll go to the user routes and we'll create a delete route. So this is the delete route, and we are going to use the delete route. So for that, we'll send a delete, and now here we'll be needing an uh, ID. So this is ID, and we are going to hit a delete request. Now you can see we are deleting the user Ayush, right, from the database. So I'm sending this, and now we are going to refresh this, and now it's deleted. Okay, so now you can see the data has been got deleted. Earlier, there has been two users stored into the database, but now only one is there, right? Because of that, we created a delete API, right? So it deleted a user from the database directly. Now, if you are going to refresh the users API, so you can see there is only one user it returning, which is Manav. So we did this thing like we created this uh, like very fast. We get API, they post, and this is about like retrieving a single user. This is about deleting a user, and we can even delete all the users with the method like delete all or something. So this is how you can connect. So I'll repeat again. This is how you can connect your server, the database server with the Express. Okay, and many more things are there, right? So this is about connection, connecting the database, and this is about creating the routers. Because see, we are creating a router with, we are connecting with this endpoint. So whoever is coming to this users, and whatever the next endpoint is, it's gonna check the endpoint with the function with the router, this router. So now in this router, it's gonna check that if it is a create, get one user or delete user route is there. So it will check and respond respectively, right? Okay. And apart from this, we'll do one thing as we have this country controller in our right. So what we'll do, we'll save the data like emojis of all the countries in our okay, we'll save the data of all the countries into the database directly, right? Or we can even do one thing. Was that day we saved something? So we'll do one thing. We'll save the jokes as well into the database, right? So for that, we'll create a controller, a new a new model. Okay, joke model .js. So this model will gonna consist the schema from Mongoose. Now we are going to create const joke schema. Now in this schema, we'll store the joke data. Right. So okay, so this is joke, and we will add a timestamp which will have okay, so this is gonna return the local data string both together, right? Okay, so yeah, this is the schema for right const joke model equal to, as we did yesterday, mongoose dot model. Now in this we'll pass the model name jokes, and we are passing the joke name. Exporting this model directly, and now we'll use this model to save the jokes into our database. Now, as we have this controller, so what we'll do, we'll create one more function here, right here, something like this. Function save joke Yeah, okay, so I hope I'm back again. Yeah, I hope it's visible, right? So we are back again, and right now, what we were trying to do is we created like I'll delete the thing because I had got connected, but I was teaching over there. I'll delete this collection jokes, dropping this collection directly. Okay, so see what we were trying to do is we just have created a model called jokes, right? And as we had yesterday, we had that joke controller which was generating a joke. So now we want this joke to save into the database. Okay, we want this joke to get saved into the database. Okay, so what I am going to do is, see, I want all of these data jokes to get saved into the database. So for that, I am using a set interval function and I'm saving each of the joke after 1 second into the database directly with respect to the model. So we are using the save method, and once it's saved, we are consoling the joke. So it's gonna console over here directly. So I'm going to restart the server again, npm start, and as we have a route created right now which is save jokes in db, so I'll copy this route and I'm going to paste this route over here, save jokes in db. And you can see now, right now in our database, there is only users are there. Okay, but now I'm going to run this api. Now I'm calling this api and we'll refresh our database. So once I'm refreshing our database, this joke is got created, and you can see many more jokes has been getting added into this, right? On every single second, it's adding multiple jokes inside of it, right? It's around 60, 62, 63. Every single second is adding a new joke, right? So what we are doing is we are saving the jokes into our database directly. Okay, this was about saving the jokes, right? So what we did, we just created an API saving the jokes into the database. Now I stop this, and now you can see the logs are there. This much of like jokes, it's saved, and I'm going to console, and I'm going to stop this process, and I'm again going to start the server, right? So now, as we save the jokes into the database, I want the jokes to get reflected again uh, with an API. So we'll create a API app.get. We'll create a route or uh, jokes from DB. So this route gonna uh, show or retrieve the data from the database and gonna show us on our client, right? So yeah, you can see we are going to the joke controller, and we are going to create a function retrieve jokes, request and response there. And now we are going to take the jokes from the DB directly. So for that, we'll use our joke model dot find, right? And once the data has got returned into this, right, we are going to use the data. Now I'm going to send a response to the server, rest.json, and this is gonna return the response. And we are going to export this function, the model, and now we'll connect this model with our server.js route, retrieve hooks and import it, right? Now I'm copying this route, and yeah, let's run this route. You can see this much of jokes we stored into our database directly with a single API call. On every single second we save a joke. Every single second we save a joke. Is that visible right now? The screen is visible. Okay, so this is, you can do a lot of operations of saving the data, deleting the data, and updating the data in the database. And this we did today. We created collections, jokes, and users. We saved the users with the post APIs, and we saved the joke dynamically by calling a package function and saved the data directly into the MongoDB. Okay, so this was all about this, and as I promised and as I told you yesterday, we are going to host our React app which we created. So for that, I'm going to open our React project, which is this React workshop. Now we have this opened over here, right? I'm going to start this React app. Npm start. Okay, so this is a React app which we had created. Now I'll teach you that how you can deploy a React app anywhere, right? So we'll have a look to deploy an app on Cloudflare pages. So for that, I'll show you how you can do that, right? So as we have student card, JS, server connection, React states, clocks, uh, different different of components are there. So we'll list all the components directly here. React states and what we had student list. We'll also use so list this one as well. The clock one, and I think student. Okay, let it be, right. This is something which we did till now. And now I want to host this application. So where we'll host? We'll host it on Cloudflare. So come to the Cloudflare and you'll need to create your account. Before that, you'll need to publish this to a GitHub repository. So I'm going to commit all of these changes, test, and I'm going to commit and push. Now I'm going to create a repository directly from here, share on GitHub. So we are going to share this directly. It's public repository. It's pushing to the master branch, and let's see whether it's got pushed or not. You can see the components, the only components is pushed because I think files remain to get pushed. So we'll commit and push again. So for hosting a React application or React website, you'll need a Jamstack server. Right. Now we are done with the push. We will refresh this. So now we have all of these uh, required files in this, right? See, now I'll come to the Cloudflare and I'll log in with my account. So you can even log in with your account, create your account over here on Cloudflare. I had just to watch that how you can host your React app free. It won't cost us to. So we are clicking on login. So it's gonna like log into that Cloudflare in 1 or 2 seconds. Allow me. It's taking time to verify the captcha. Okay, so for hosting the node application or the node server, you'll be needing a VPS or like a proper host for that, such as you can use Railway Render to host your node server, Heroku. So I think I'm logged in right now into this. Yes, I'm logged in. So once you have created a GitHub repository, you need to remember the name of your repository and you need to come onto the Cloudflare dashboard. And once you are into the Cloudflare dashboard, you need to go to the any one of your account which you have. So right now I want to post this application in this account. So there will be a section called workers and pages are there. So just come on and click on the overview. Once you are clicking onto the overview, it will take 1 or 2 minutes to get load, and it's still loading. So once it got loaded, there is a section called pages, right? So you come and click onto the create, and then the pages over there. Now it will ask you to upload the HTML file to connect a GitHub repository. So you can connect a GitHub repository. So once you are clicking on connect, so it will ask you to connect your GitHub account with the Cloudflare pages. So I have I'm already done with that. So it will just list me the repository. It's asking to connect, or you can see the account username is there, and there is this React workshop, which is our repository is there, and we are going to set up this right now. The branch is there, and it's asking for the framework which we use right now. We use the Create React app, right? And this is our directory, and we are going to save and deploy this. Okay, so it will take 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to just to build and deploy this, right? And the advantage of using Cloudflare pages is it will allow you to connect your custom domain in free, right? I think there's an error occurred. Why the error is occurred? Let me see. npm install. Okay, so we'll need to update our npm file first. So for that, we'll do one thing. We'll need to run the command npm install npm I log.json. And so we are done with this. We'll again push this, that, right? And we can even do, we can even build folder, and we can upload the folder directly to uh, that one, right? So we are done with this. I hope my screen is visible, so you can see. Now we're going to commit this changes, commit and push. We're pushing this. Now we push this. So once we push this, it's gonna create. You can see it's gonna create a deployment directly. It's in progress right now. Now this deployment got failed because of that issue. Now this is building it. Now there's none of a single error is there. Yes, 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 we are done with this. Okay, so yeah, so you can see it's building the application, and once it's run, you can deploy it directly. And in this, you can even add the environment variables, and you can even add the custom build commands, right? Now application has been got builded, and yeah, it's success, it's completed, right? So it will return us an a URL. You can see this is the URL for this build, which now we'll be going to use this react workshop.pages.dev. So I'll try to drop this link into the chat box. I don't know if it's not able to, but yeah, I'll drop you this directly. So you can see what is the URL is. Now it's working on react workshop pages.dev. So this is the URL. We just deployed our react application, And if I'm submitting the name, so it's even changing. Everything is working which we created, right? This is the class plot, and this is about getting the student list, right? So we added all the components which we practiced in 2 days for React. Okay, so as you can see, it's working and it's deployed. So whatever the changes I'm going to do into the project. So let's say we just want this as clock. Okay, we just want the clock, and I'm going to change the CSS of the clock. Okay, so I'll go into the class CSS, clock CSS. I'll make it a better clock one, right? Cool CSS. I want a cool CSS for this. Now this has returned me a CSS. Let's run this project npm run npm start. Sorry, npm start. We want this on another port, and you can see it just now this clock should return on or return like workshop. So what I'll do, you don't need to deploy this again. I'll just make changes, and I'll commit this, and I'll push this. Once I'm pushing this, it it will automatically set up a CI/CD continuous integration and deployment onto that GitHub, right? So this clock which we created right now, it's gonna get published on this URL. So you can see in a second here will be a new deployment is gonna get created. So it's created automatically and it's in progress. Once the deployment has been got done, so whatever the changes we did, those will be gonna reflect on this domain name in a while, right? So you can see it right now there's nothing, right? But it will return something in a while. So I'll try to drop this URL into the chat box. I'll try, but I'll need to check, right? Okay, so React, what is that? React dash workshop dot pages dot dev, right? So this is the URL. You can even check. So I hope you got like how we can deploy the React app, right? Directly onto the server. It won't even cost you. Now I'll show you. You can even come over here and connect your custom domain directly, right? So I pasted a link into the chat box. You can see the link. You can even come and connect the custom domain, and you can add the serverless function as well into this. So now we are done with our deployment and all. Maybe the deployment is got failed. I don't know why. Let's check why it got failed. There is the log. So okay, it got failed because of this. Because we imported all of this into our app component, but not use this, right? The server connection, these. We need to remove this unused statements, right? And we'll again make a commit and push it. And once this gonna get deployed, so you can check everything over, right? Now you can see there's one more deployment has been got created. Now this deployment will return the proper like the clock, right, which we have created. So in the last 6 days, we have learned about the basic of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then after that, we learned about very important things, which were the uh, like the main thing was about creating an Express server. So we'll again have a recap onto that. So I'll open this Node.js project again to this window only. Now we'll wait to just to get deployed of this, right? You can go to this website and you can check, right? Right now we are going to visit this website, and now you can see it's it's written here clock. We created a project and we deployed it directly. Understood? Just show me the reactions and chat box, right? So the clock is working properly. Okay. So this was all about deploying a React application. So now we'll take a revision that what we did till now. So in this, I'll share you this codes, right? So you can see we created a Express server which which was getting connected with the MongoDB. Then we created a router to create APIs for users. Then we created an API to save the joke in database, and we saved many more jokes, like around 64 or like 90 jokes into this single database. There are 90 jokes are there. So we created this collection and this users collection with the help of joke model and users model, right? We did this with that, and till now we have used the MongoDB as I mentioned yesterday, right? Now in this, you can see the routes are there. In the user routes, there are get user just to retrieve the user, and we have created a post route to create a new user or post into the database. Then we created a route for retrieving a single user and a route for deleting the user, right? So this is what we did into, like, these are basic CRUD operations with the MongoDB in Express server. But apart from this, we also created some of the APIs which were retrieving the using the packages, the npm packages, such as country list package. With the help of this country list package, we tried to uh, retrieve the country emoji flag with the help of an API, and we did many things with the packages. Even we converted the time into different time zone. So we'll again have an example of that one again. So what we'll do is we'll enable the API of convert time. Let's have a look, right, what we did till now. In the localhost 3000, we have convert convert time, and time zone is America, US, New York, right? So if I'm passing any other time zone, so let's test any other time zone, such as we go to the time, we'll check. We want the data of different time zones, so we'll need to find a time zone. Okay, UK time zone, and we'll copy the UK time zone. Mm, but I think we must have to have the list of all the time zones somewhere. Let's see, list moment time zone. So we'll go to the documentation of this repository directly over here and we'll copy any time zone from this, right? There's only one is there, Asia. So this is the only one we were like using. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, the API is working, but still the API is working, and that's all. Now, if you are going to cross check this in the clock, so the current time is in US is 10 cent, whether like 3 or 2 minutes of difference is there, but still it's working. Namachi, you'll need to connect with the channel, like channel moderator, right? Because I'm not the one who is going to remove these videos. Okay. So we created this clock app in the React and we created all of these API. So I'll try to push this code, the server side code as well onto the GitHub, right? So these were the controller we created. I'll also explain. So in this MongoDB controller, no, in the student controller, we yesterday without database we tried to do the operations. The the student get like CRUD operations, create, read, delete, and update. So this is the very basics of our like Express server where we use the basics like okay we create the CRUD API for creating, deleting, reading, and updating the database, and that's all. Okay, so I hope all of you got this. Okay, cool. So we did this. If you have any question onto this, then just ask me right now because. And one more thing I wanted to tell you because right now we installed this MongoDB Compass, so it was a local database. But for cloud MongoDB, you need to come onto this MongoDB Plus and you need to create a free account. And once you are registering on this, it will allow you to create a cloud database server as well. So if you have any question, then just ask your question. We have few minutes, right? And you can learn more about the Mongoose, MongoDB on their official documentation directly, right? And this was the jokes API which we created. And yeah, we did with our like today's session, I think. So if you have any question, then just ask me. I'm here to answer your question, right? Any questions? Okay. So if anyone have any question, then just drop your questions over here. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much for joining for like for this 6 days. I hope we learned a lot of things. If you learned something, then drop uh, your excitement by typing like you enjoyed the session and all by just type the MERN MERN into the chat box if you learned something and like enjoyed the session, right, from the day one. Type MERN and MERN and just show your reactions because in a few minutes I'm gonna end the session. So I wanna say goodbye to you all with uh, with your enjoyment, right? Just show your reactions and okay, cool. Okay, so thank you so much for for joining us today. Um, this was an incredible journey, like till like last 6 days. We learned in the first day we learned the basics of fundamentals of web HTML and web structure, and then we learned about the JavaScript fundamentals, and then we learned about the React fundamentals, Node fundamentals, and from last 2 days we are learning about Express and Mongo into the Node.js. We will. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much for joining. Have a good day. It was a great journey with you all.